What's up everyone, back for another beer review, and today I'll be reviewing a beer from the Maplewood Brewing Company, and they're out of Chicago, Illinois, and this is their Juice Pants. So they're calling this one an IPA, and on their website they call this one a Hazy IPA. It comes in at 7% alcohol by volume, 55 IBUs at the time of review, and this can is approximately 7 weeks old. So recently I took a day trip to Ohio, and I checked out a bottle shop in Mentor, Ohio called Red Wine and Brew. I've been there numerous times before, picked up 10 different goodies. In the description box, I'll post a link to the beer haul video I did that contains all the beers that I picked up on my travels. I only picked up one hop forward beer, and it was this one, and that's because I've had one beer from Maplewood, and I reviewed it on the channel. It was courtesy of a good friend of mine and viewer of the channel, Kenny. It was their Wild Idaho Nights, and it was really good. And I remember hearing other people speak very highly of Maplewood, so when I saw them randomly in Ohio, I was like, I'm gonna give this a go. And when I picked it up, it was about, I don't know, about 6 weeks old, so I'm getting to this one, a week after I picked it up. 7-week mark. Hopefully it's okay. We will see. So they're brewing this one with Citra Cryo, Mosaic and Mosaic Cryo. And they do call this one a Hazy IPA on their website. They actually have a little spiel on the back that says go to juicepants.com, which I tried to. Didn't work. But on their website, I found the page for Juice Pants. But anyway, yeah, we're going to pour it into the Hop Butcher glass because it's been a while since I've had anything from Hop Butcher. Got to pick up some of their stuff when we get a fresh drop at some point early this year, maybe in the next month or two, because it's been a while since I reviewed something from them. So we're going to give this a pour. It doesn't look super hazy coming out of the can, if we're being honest here. I mean, it's hazy. It's just not hazy. Do you know what I mean? It's hazy, but it's not hazy. Anyway, we're going to throw this over here. So as far as I can tell, this is like, I don't say like their flagship IPA, but it might be. But they have, they have a website for it and everything. I feel like this is probably in the realm of their flagship, or maybe their most rotating offering out of everything. But yeah, that has an old school like hazy look to it. It has like this burnt orange color. It is definitely hazy, so they're not incorrect in that. I mean, I put my hand here. I can see the shadow through it, but I can't see my hand. So this is like an old school hazy IPA. A lot of fine particulates. But yeah, it has definitely like a bright, vibrant orange color. About just over a finger of this really tightly compact, bubbled head that's more of like an eggshell white kind of look to it. It looks infinitely creamy. And it looks really nice in the Hop Butcher glass, even though it's not a Hop Butcher beer. So anyway, good nose. Wow. Juicy for sure. And on the side here, it says juicy, juicy, juicy. Yeah, no doubt in the nose. Juicy orange tangerine. Dare I say tangelo? Yeah, huge citrus qualities of this one, and they're very juicy, sweet. Now I am getting, and this could be maybe the age, 7 weeks isn't super, super fresh. There's a little bit of like a caramel or like a bready malt character. Kind of reminds me of like an old school like East Coast IPA. But it does have that new school like, juiciness to it. There's a slight... This is weird. This is like all over the place. Like an old East Coast IPA, a little bit of like a New England or hazy IPA, and then a touch of like a West Coast. It has like a touch of pine, like a resinous pine. Well, I shouldn't say resinous, but like pine, spruce tips, something in that realm, but not too big. It's just there. Maybe a little bit of a mango, apricot, touch of pineapple. This is all over the place. It smells pretty good. It doesn't smell necessarily like old or anything at 7 weeks old, but this smells like an older school, like in that realm, like where breweries were starting to transition from old American IPAs into like new school New England / hazy IPAs. That's kind of what I'm getting the vibe out of this glass. Anyway, let's get into it. Cheers, everyone. Yeah. This is very juicy. So Juice Pants is not, I mean, the fact that they call this Juice Pants and say juicy, 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 100%. Vibrant, juicy, orange, tangerine, tangelo, even like a real juicy, like ruby red grapefruit, like tons of citrus juice. But this is higher side of medium body at 7%. That's pretty impressive. Has a nice heft to it. Would almost think you're drinking more of a double IPA than a single. The mouthfeel, it's somewhat smooth and creamy, has a mild to moderate carbonation, probably smack dab in the middle, so it's a little bit softer than like an old school like American IPA or East Coast IPA or even West Coast IPA. Basically, any IPA that's not hazy or New England style, I think, is definitely softer than those. The taste, it's not very complex. From the palate, I get a little bit of that caramel, a little bit of bread, dives underneath the palate. I'd say it's more bready than caramel in the taste. Yeah, definitely more like a white bread right underneath the palate. After that, waves of juicy citrus. There is orange, tangerine, tangelo, ruby red grapefruit, all super juicy. There's even a little bit of like a pineapple kind of juiciness as well right after that. Not as much stone fruit as I was getting in the nose. I was getting a lot in the nose, but it was definitely there. It had like an apricot mango type of feel. Not as much. The finish though, there is no pine. There's no resinous pine. The finish though, finishes earthy with a nice like floral sensation, maybe even a little bit of a grassy note. Not really dank or herbaceous or anything like that. It does have a mild to moderate bitterness, like smack dab in the middle, just like the mouthfeel. And this one finishes semi-dry. So it's a little bit sweeter overall as a beer and as a hazy IPA, but it's not too sweet, it's not cloying or anything. It just leans a little bit sweeter, and you kind of expect that, it's a juicy beer. It's very simplistic to some degree. Again, it's pretty much juicy citrus, a little bit of white bread, and then that like, kind of hoppy finish that's like grassy and like earthy and floral. But for the most part, I think it delivers on the name juice pants and juicy, juicy, juicy. I just don't necessarily love it. It had some great lacing that you can kind of still see on the glass. We'll take one more sip and I'll lock in. I think I'm gonna do 2 ratings for this one. I don't do a lot, but I figure this one kind of probably needs it. So if you're gonna pick this one up, because the name is Juice Pants, and it's a pair of pants with a straw because you're drinking it, it's Juice Pants. And then it says on the back here, I don't know if you're gonna see it, it says juicy, juicy, juicy. It says go to juicepants.com for details on the pants. Visit juicepants.com. If you're gonna do that, right? If you're gonna pick this one and be like, man, I want a juicy IPA, I don't think they necessarily missed the mark. There's a lot of juicy citrus, a little bit of that pineapple. So I think like as far as like a juicy IPA goes, if you just say, hey, this is juicy IPA, probably like a 4.3, 4.4 for this beer, like without question. I think that's where this one kind of lands. 3.3, 3.4, 4.4, or 3.4, 4.3, 4.4 math. Personal preference, it's going to be a little bit, decent bit lower because I don't love this, but I do thoroughly enjoy it. So I'm going to give Juice Pants from Maplewood a straight 4 out of 5. I think that's the best I can do. It's kind of a mindfuck if we're just being honest with you. I'm sure a lot of you out there who've had this one, maybe somebody out here in the YouTube land, in the beer tubing world that watches this video, you'll be like, man, I always have a 4-pack of that in the fridge, so on and so forth. Maybe you really enjoy this and you just love it. And again, it's a very simplistic label too, but I don't know. But for me, it's just like, it's a marriage of like hazy / New England IPAs, old school East Coast, a little bit of West Coast, not as much West Coast, but more like old school East Coast, and even old school, just like American IPAs. But I do think it delivers on the juice. It's not blowing me away, but a 4 out of 5 is still a really good score. Price point availability, it's probably gonna vary depending upon where you live. I picked this one up, I think it was like 4.49 a can. I want to say 4 packs were like $17.99. Probably in Chicago, it's probably a couple bucks cheaper. I'd imagine 15, 16 bucks a 4-pack, maybe even cheaper than that. I don't know. But if you are in Chicago, and I know I have a lot of Chicago viewers who have followed the channel because of the Hot Butcher reviews. Have you had this one before? And if so, what is the price point in your neck of the woods? I would assume this is like $14, $16 probably in Chicagoland area. If it's a little bit more expensive than that, so be it. Would I pay $4.50 for a can of this like I did the first time? I don't think I would. I've had a lot of beers like this. It's not bad. It's actually pretty good at 4 out of 5. I just don't think I'd necessarily go out my way to grab this one. And availability, like I said, I don't really know. I picked it up in Mentor, Ohio, so they get distro in Ohio. We don't see them here in the Buffalo, New York area. So if you're outside of, say, Illinois, specifically Chicago, and you're outside of Ohio, do you see Maplewood stuff? And if so, what do you think about them? So yeah, 7%, you really can't tell. 55 IBUs, not as bitter as that, but a lot of times the IBUs don't really matter. I just like, at this point, it's like, do I even say the IBUs at the beginning of the video? I don't think it really matters, but I don't know, I'm setting my ways. I'll probably be doing this 5 years from now and still reading off IBUs and they don't matter. Anyway, I'm gonna shut this one down. I'm glad I got a chance to try another Maplewood beer. I'd like to try more from them at some point, maybe something that's not a hop forward beer, or definitely something that is maybe, a darker beer, or maybe a lager or something like that. Something to break up the monotony of all 2 beers that I've had from them that have been hop forward. Anyway, I'm shutting it down. I'm just rambling now. Appreciate it. To the next one. Cheers.